Hello and welcome to my science tutorials. In today's video, we want to look at how to solve quadratic inequalities. So without further ado, let's begin. Now, for you to be able to solve a quadratic inequality, you need to first of all write the quadratic inequality in the standard form, that is in the form as squared plus bs plus c. After writing it in the standard form, you need to determine the root of the inequality. Just like the way we find the root of a quadratic equation, we do the same thing for the inequality. But after finding the root of the inequality, we need to write the solution in an inequality notation. And I'll be showing you how we write the inequality notation very soon. Right, so let's have a look at an example to appreciate what we are about to do today. So we are to solve the inequality x squared minus 4x greater than negative 3. So this is the inequality that we have at hand. Now, for us to solve this inequality, we first of all need to rewrite it in the standard form. So that means we have x squared minus 4x greater than negative 3. We have to move the negative 3 to the left hand side of the inequality so that this will be greater than 0. So we have x squared minus 4x plus 3 is greater than 0. Alright, so from here, we need to find the roots of this inequality. So to do that, we use the coefficient of the x squared term to multiply the constant, which is 3 over here. So 1 multiplied by 3 will give us 3. Now, which two numbers will you multiply to get 3? But if you add or subtract, you get negative 4. So if we think very well, negative 3 and negative 1 will do that for us. So negative 3, negative 1, if we multiply it, we get positive 3. But if we add, we get negative 4. So we have over here x squared minus 3x minus x plus 3 is greater than 0. So from here, I can go ahead and do my factorization. So I bring x out over here. So I have x minus 3 left for these two. Then I have between here x and positive 3 minus 1 is common. Then I have x minus 3 over here greater than 0. So I have over here x minus 1, then x minus 3 greater than 0. So I have x minus 1 greater than 0 or x minus 3 greater than 0. So therefore this means that I have my x to be greater than positive 1 or my x to be greater than positive 3. Now if we look at this is not our answer. If we look at this side of the equation, this side of the inequality, we are having what is on the left hand side, which is the x squared minus 4x plus 3 to be greater than 0. Now if something is greater than 0, it means it's positive. So it means the corresponding y value that we are looking for, is supposed to be positive. So in this case, y has to be positive. Now let's look at how we derive our answer. We have this x to be greater than 1, x to be greater than 3. So let's plot the graph. So if we plot that graph, we are going to have something that looks like this. Okay, so we have positive 1, positive 2, positive 3, 4, and I have negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, and negative 4. Now, if I look through these answers, I have 1 and 3, so 0.1 and then 3 over here. Now, for an inequality, instead of having the parabola curve, we have a straight line going through. So we are having our line passing through 1 over here, and then another line passing through 3. Okay, so this is how the graph is going to be like. Now, are we looking for a solution that lies between outside, let's say 1 over here towards the negative, and then from 3 towards the positive, or the answer is between 1 and 3? Let's look at that. Now, because y from this side is positive, or this is greater than 0, it means that our solution should lie outside the curve, or the straight line over here. I take that again. Because this guy is greater than 0, which means it is positive. So because y is positive, okay, by y I mean x squared minus 4x plus 3, because that part of the equation is positive, we are looking at the x values, that will give us y to be positive. That is, we are looking at the upside over here, outside over here. Okay, those are the parts that we are looking for. Now if y were to be negative, that is less than 0, then we'll be looking at in between 1 and 3, so we'll be shading the inside. So for this particular graph, let me use another color. So our graph will be shading the outside over here. Okay, we'll shade the outside over here, so it means our answer lies at this side of the graph and then also at this side of this graph. Okay, so if you plot this graph in Desmos, if you plot this equation in Desmos, you are going to have a graph that looks something similar to this. Okay, but they will have here shaded much more beautifully. Anyway, that is just by the way. Now what is the inequality notation over here? The inequality notation over here is that we have x, that is, okay, because over here from 1 downwards is less than 1, and then over here x will be greater than 3. So our inequality notation over here will be x less than 1 or x greater than 3. Okay, so x greater than 3, it means we are looking at this direction, so this side of the equation, and then s less than 1, it means we are looking at from here all the way down to the end over here, or to infinity. So it means our solution lies outside over here. So you can try that out. If you pick any number below 1, that is maybe 0, -1, -2, you realize that this side of the equation will be greater than 0. If you pick anything above 3, you realize that it will still be greater than 0. But if you pick anything in between 1 and 3, let's say 2, if you substitute 2 into this equation, you are not going to get the value to be less than 0, to be greater than 0. So it means we want answers that are outside the curve over here. So this becomes our answer. Note that this is different from this we are having over here. So we can see that this side is maintained, but the sign changes to less than instead of greater than. So after factorizing, the roots are not your answer. You need to try and draw the graph, understand how the inequality will behave, and then you find your solution set or your inequality notation. All right, so let's go ahead and solve more examples to really appreciate what we are doing. So the next example we want to look at is s squared minus x greater than 12. Right, so because we are having a greater than sign, it means we are expecting our y to be greater than 0, which means it will be positive. So we are looking at the answer will be extremes of the 2 points that we are going to get for x. So let's look at that. So we have this, we rewrite this as s squared minus x minus 12 is greater than 0. Now we use the coefficient of s squared here to multiply -12, so we have -12. Now 4 and 3 will do this job for us. So we have s squared minus 4x plus 3x minus 12 is greater than 0. So over here I can factorize x out. So x outside bracket x minus 4. Then I have here plus 3 into bracket x minus 4 greater than 0. So I group s and this positive 3, and then I maintain one of these root s minus 4 is greater than 0. So I have over here from here s plus 3 is greater than 0, or s minus 4 is greater than 0. So from here it means I have s greater than -3 or s greater than +4. Now, like I said, after finding your roots, that is not the solution. Let's go ahead and try and plot this graph and see what we are going to get. Now, so if we draw this graph, we have, let me quickly label the others. So I have 1 here, 2, 3, 4, let's say 5. I have -1, -2, -3, let's say -4. Now, if you look at this equation, you realize that this side of the equation is positive since it's greater than 0. So it means y is positive. Y is positive. Now, if y is positive and we have the two extremes, which are -3, so our line will pass through negative 3 over here, and then the other one will pass through 4. Now, because y is positive, we are looking for values of x for which the graph will be above the x-axis over here, or the values of x for which y will be positive. Okay, so for those values, it means that we are looking at the extremes. Because this is positive, the values that lies below negative 3, and then the values that lies above 4 are going to be our solution set. So if you plot this graph in Desmos, so you can download Desmos app on your phone, or you go to desmos.com and you plot this equation, you are going to have a graph that looks something like this, and this side will be shaded. So if these sides are shaded, it means y is positive. So the values from negative 3 below, and then the values from 4 above will give me a positive y value if you substitute them into this equation. So my solution set is therefore s less than negative 3 or s greater than positive 4. So this becomes my solution set. So this is my answer for this particular equation over here. Not this guy, but this guy is the solution set. And I'm explaining how we got this, because I said if you look at this side of the equal to equation, it is greater than 0. For that means y is positive. If y is positive, you shade the extremes of your graph. But if it is negative, you shade within. It means your answer will be within. So we'll have a look at an example where it will be within. All right, so let's have a look at another example. So we have 2s squared less than 9s plus 5. Okay, this is a very beautiful example. Now let's try and solve this problem. The first thing we do is to rearrange this equation to write it in the standard form. So I have 2s squared minus 9s minus 5 is less than 0. The fact that this side of the equation is less than 0 means that our y will be what? Negative. Okay, if 0 is greater than anything, it means the thing is negative. So this equation is telling us, or this inequality is telling us that y is negative. Let's have that in mind before we continue to solve. Okay, so from here I need to factorize this. Now 2 multiplied by negative 5 will give me negative 10. Which two numbers will I multiply to get negative 10 by add to get negative 9? We don't necessarily have any two numbers that can easily give us that. So we are going to be using the quadratic formula to solve this. So my x is equal to minus b plus or minus the root of b squared minus 4ac all on 2a. So my s is equal to minus b. So my b is minus 9, which is the coefficient of x. My a is 2, the coefficient of s squared. And then my c is negative 5, which is the constant. So I have here minus b, so it will be minus into bracket minus 9 plus or minus the root of minus 9 squared minus 4. The a is 2 multiplied by negative 5, which is c, all over 2a. The a is 2 here, so let me do that. So I have my x is equal to, this becomes positive 9 plus or minus the root of, if you simplify everything we have under the bracket over here, you'll get 121 divided by 4. Okay, so root of 121 is 11. So I have s is equal to 9 plus or minus 11 on 4. So my x is either equal to 9 plus 11 on 4, or s will be equal to 9 minus 11 on 4. Now 9 plus 11 will give me 20 on 4, and this will give me 5. Or 9 minus 11 will give me negative 2 on 4 will give me negative 1 on 2. So I have these two values. Now remember, we are dealing with inequality, not equation. So s is not equal to, so we bring the inequality sign back. So it means s is less than 5 or s is less than half. Okay, so this is the factors or the roots. Now from here it means we need to plot our graph or draw our graph. So let's do that. All right, so let me just use this small space over here. Okay, so I have 5 and the negative half, so let me redraw this graph wall. Okay, all right, so let me shift the y-axis here. So let's say this is 1, so our half is somewhere here, negative half is somewhere here. Then I have here 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So my line is going to pass through 5, and then it will also pass through negative half, so it's going to be like this. Now remember, when I was solving this equation over here, I established the fact that because the left hand side is less than 0, it means it is negative. Because it is negative, our solution lies in between the negative half and 5. So this is how our graph is going to be like. In between negative half and 5 will be shaded. So it means my S lies between negative half and 5. So I will have my solution for this particular example to be negative half less than S less than 5. Okay, so this becomes my solution, because if you look at it, negative half less than x, so anything less than negative half and less than 5 will give us the solution. So if you substitute, let's say 1 into this equation, you are going to see that it's less than 0. If you substitute 2, it will be less than 0. But if you substitute, let's say negative 1 into this equation, it will be greater than 0, which means that anything that lies beyond negative half are below, and then positive 5 above will not be part of this equation. So this becomes our answer. All right, so let's have a look at one final example. So example number 4. So we have 2x squared plus x minus 15 is less or equal to 0. Okay, so let's go ahead and factorize this, since the equation is already in the standard form for us. So we have 2s squared over here. Now 2 multiplied by 15 will give me negative 30. That negative 30, which two numbers will I multiply to get negative 30 but add to get 1? So I will have 6 and 5, so positive 6, negative 5 will do that. So I have 2s squared plus 6x minus 5x minus 15 is less or equal to 0. Now if something is less or equal to 0, it means that we are expecting our y to be negative. Okay, let's note that since this side of the equation is not greater or equal to 0, it means our y is negative. So it means we will be shading in between the two values of x that we'll get for this quadratic equation. So that is something you should note down. So always try to see whether it will be y will be negative or positive. That will tell you where to shade. Okay, so let's continue. So we have 2x common here, so I have 2x into bracket, x plus 3 here. Then over here I have minus 5 common, then x plus 3. This is less or equal to 0. So I have here 2x minus 5, and then x plus 3 is less or equal to 0. So from here I have 2x minus 5 less or equal to 0, or x plus 3 less or equal to 0. So 2x less or equal to, I send the 5 to the other side, it becomes positive 5. Divide both sides by 2. My s is now less or equal to 5 on 2, or this is 2.5. Or over here I have s less or equal to negative 3. Okay, so let's go ahead and draw our graph to see where our answer will be. Okay, so I have here negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. I have here 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I have 2.5, positive 2.5, so something around here, somewhere here. Then I have negative 3 over here. So my graph will pass through negative 3 all the way down, and then 2.5 all the way here. Now, because I established over here that y is negative, because if you look at this equation, we are saying that is less or equal to 0, so it means y should be negative. That implies that we have to shade inside of these two lines. So this is where our solution lies. It lies in between over here. So it means my x is in between -3 and 2.5. So my solution over here will be -3 less or equal to x less or equal to 5 on 2. So this is how we solve quadratic inequalities. First of all, we rearrange the equation in the standard form. We try to find the roots. Now with that roots, we draw a graph, okay, plot the jot where the 2 points that we have for as the factors or as the zeros of the equation. We tick them and then draw a straight line through them. Now we have to consider the equation. If the equation is greater than 0, it means y is positive, so we paint the outside of the graph, outside the two values that you get. But if it is less than 0, something that is less than 0 is negative, so you paint in between the two lines that you've drawn, and then you write the solution set appropriately as required of you. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.